Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and today we got part 2 of Luke Smith's Director's Cut, the state of the game for Destiny 2. Part 1 of this dropped earlier this week and talked about plenty of things, including some things that we'll be looking forward to moving forward as Destiny 2 Shadowkeep arrives later this year. If you missed out on any of the information that was covered in part 1 of these articles, I would definitely encourage you to go check out our video coverage of it. There should be a link to it down in the description box below. But today we got part 2, and this one's going to be covering a lot of really interesting stuff as well, including changes to the armor and mod system, how our Guardian's power progression system is going to be changing when Destiny 2 Shadowkeep arrives, and even more. Now, just like the previous video, we're going to be going through this as quickly as possible and summarizing some of the biggest bits of information to drop. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in. Now, of course, earlier this week, we had a live stream from Bungie showing off the new armor customization system, lovingly titled Armor 2.0 that we're going to be getting in Shadowkeep. And if you haven't checked that out either, man, you're missing out. You need to go check out that live stream, or at least the wrap-up Nim and I had, discussing a lot of the changes that are going to be coming along with that. But that's really where Luke Smith starts things out. He goes into detail a bit about how they came to the conclusion of what they wanted to do with the new armor customization system, that ultimately he wanted to give Guardians more control over how they look and especially over how they play, as Destiny pushes more and more kind of towards the RPG that we know it could be. Now, a lot of what Luke talks about here is, of course, a rehash of what we learned earlier in the week, so we're going to skip over most of that. But he did take some time to focus on exactly what's going to be randomized on armor. As a quick rundown, basically when Shadowkeep comes out, new armor that's going to be dropping from sources within the game is basically going to be separated from the perk system. Armor's no longer going to have basic perks on it. Instead, here are the elements of armor that will be able to roll randomly once all this comes out. Elemental affinity rolls between solar, arc, and void. Armor's starting energy value can roll randomly as well, but they can all of course be leveled up to 10 like what we saw in the livestream. Then finally, stats all roll random values. These values are of course intellect, discipline, and strength returning from D1, and then of course the D2 base values of mobility, resilience, and recovery can all randomly roll on armor. So once you've gotten into the whole Armor 2.0 system, you started earning up your mods, you can start applying them to all the gear that you want however you want. It looks like the endgame is going to be trying to get the perfect stat rolls for your build. And of course we get a great screenshot here showing you exactly what this is going to look like when all of it goes live. And much like it was in D1, these stats are going to be broken up into 10 different tiers. Basically every 10 points you get, you go up a tier. And of course the higher the points you have, the higher the tier you reach, the faster you're going to be getting your abilities back, or the more pronounced those abilities are going to be. Which is awesome. I already love the idea of being able to create my own rolls on the gear that I want to wear. But I also think the fact that there's still a chase there, the fact that you still can grind out for the perfect roll, maybe you just want a bit more intellect on your roll. That carrot on the stick for perfect gear sets is still going to be there when all of this goes live. I'm very happy to hear that. Now, moving on here, additionally, Luke Smith also kind of repeated something to, kind of soothe some of the fears that a lot of people in the community might have had about their armor sets that they've got right now. If you've got a perfect set of armor, maybe it's all masterworked up, you've got super mods in every slot, you don't have to worry about that gear going away. They're basically not going to be touching those armor sets. None of your current gear or mods are going to be deprecated when this new system comes out. Instead, they want to let you use the stuff that you've got and then slowly make your own way into Armor 2.0 rather than taking all the goodies you've got right when Shadowkeep comes out and then forcing you into the new system. Which is fantastic for all of you out there who grinded to get that perfect set of armor, whether you like PvP or PvE. It's great that you're going to be able to hold on to your preferred sets moving forward. But alright, moving on from there, we got into a massive post about the pursuit of power in Destiny 2. We're going to be seeing some major changes to the way Guardians are earning power within the game. Luke states here that their target is to reduce the overall number of powerful sources in the game, and bring it back down to a level closer to what we had at the start of Forsaken. Basically, there's too many things to do in the game right now that drop too many things. Which I suppose makes sense when you get on a Tuesday afternoon and you look at your director and you think, okay, off to the Dreaming City. Then we've got all the forges. Then we've got Gambit Prime, the Reckoning, and all the other stuff that's been added in since Forsaken came out. So they're looking to streamline and focus the endgame a bit more by tampering down on some of those extra activities. But that's a really short way of looking at it. He goes way more in depth than that. Luke states that in Forsaken, as you over-leveled an activity, meaning your power got higher than that of the activity's rewards would become less valuable. And the inverse was also true for being under-leveled. In Shadowkeep, they've changed that. Instead, the system will advertise a consistent, expected powerful reward, regardless of your power relative to it. Meaning that there's ultimately going to be a bit less variance in the ranges of power drops that you get in most of the activities that you'll be playing. With one major change being that world drops. You know how you're out in patrol and you might kill an enemy and it drops a legendary engram. Generally, if you're near max light, those legendary engrams are well beneath your overall power level. That's going to be changing once Shadowkeep comes out. From now on, those world drops, that side grade as Luke Smith refers to it in this article, is going to drop at whatever your overall power level is. So if you're power level 912, those legendaries are going to drop exactly at your light, keeping them relevant to the content that you're running. But that's not the only thing that's changing. Prime engrams are also going to be seeing some major changes as well. They'll begin dropping once you hit power level 900, and you'll accumulate charges for them as you make your way from 750 to 900. They've also increased the number of prime engrams you can earn in a given week and rebalanced the value of each one to account for the increase in volume. So basically, prime engrams are going to become an in-game thing. Once you hit power level 900, that's when you'll start seeing those again. Additionally, the base level of power for all players is dramatically changing when Shadowkeep drops. When Destiny New Light, which is of course the new free-to-play option for Destiny 2 containing the base game and all of the Year 1 DLC drops, they don't want new players to have to deal with playing hours upon hours upon hours of content before they can get to a relevant level to play with their friends who may have been on for a bit longer than that. You know, those people who are already 750 and are raring to go when Shadowkeep comes out. So, when the DLC drops, they're going to be raising everyone's base power to 750. Yeah, that's right. Every single item in the game, in your inventory or not, is being raised up to a power floor of 750 when Shadowkeep and New Light launch. This is going to work to create a more level playing field when Shadowkeep launches, so that everybody who's playing the game will have an opportunity to start it and play with their friends without having to do all that extra grinding. And yes, I can already hear some of you guys out there because I thought it myself. Yes, it's a handout for new players. We know how much you grinded to get to 750, but there are some really positive benefits here. For you more hardcore-minded Guardians out there, this means you can basically stop infusing gear right now. Start saving up those resources because you're going to need every last ounce of it once the armor system goes live. But overall, I can understand why they would make a decision like this. They tried this a few seasons ago, when they made the Power Surge mission they added a while back that would immediately bring players up to a relevant level to start some of the new content. They played with this idea a bit back then, and I was fully expecting them to do something like that again. But bringing everybody up to the current max light of 750? Like Luke says, that's definitely a free global burst of infusion for all players. So make sure you stop using those resources now. But anyways, continuing the trend of power talk from there, we get into the last really big revelations from Luke Smith in this, concerning the in-game grind. Power isn't just the biggest factor in the amount of damage we deal as players, it's also a sign of prestige. But when Shadowkeep comes out, Bungie's going to be changing up the way they kind of pursue that in-game prestige a bit, and one of the ways they're going to be doing that is with seasonal artifacts. Artifacts are going to be items that you get at the start of a season, and when you level them up, they can do a few things. First, they become a source of seasonal artifact mods, which are going to be unique mods that can be equipped only during that artifact season. This is something that was brought up in the Vidoc that revealed Shadowkeep a month or so ago. Basically, they said that as you level these artifacts up, eventually, when you get these things maxed out, some of the perks on them are going to feel kind of exotic. And it's going to be the way that Bungie kind of gets around the whole difference of power between max light guardians and mid light guardians who don't have time to run raids and nightfalls and strikes and all that kind of stuff. And that's because these artifacts are also going to serve as a power bonus for players. And he goes on to explain that this bonus is not going to be applied to gear, nor does it increase the power of future drops, but instead increases the power of all of your characters. This is meant to give players who can't or don't want to play Pinnacle activities a seasonal path to power. This way, even if a player doesn't play a raid, Iron Banner, or a new redacted activity, they can still have a high power value for the season. Leveling the artifact to raise your power is meant to be a seasonal character growth, and each season will have a new artifact with new mods to change how you play, and the power bonus will also reset. Meaning that these artifacts are going to be a new additional source of power that more hardcore in-game focused players will be able to utilize, but also players who don't have time to run raids will still be able to level up over the course of a season. Which ultimately, I guess to me, is kind of interesting. We're going to have to see exactly how this works as it moves forward, since it's still a little bit on the confusing side. But it feels kind of like a way to further democratize the power grind within Destiny 2 without taking away the benefit and the purpose of that in-game content, without, gutting your reasons for running the raids every single week. I'm very interested in learning more about this. But in addition to that, they're also going to be curating their list of powerful sources in the wild. Shadowkeep will also introduce Pinnacle power sources. These sources are the only way to earn gear drops above power level 950 in Season 8. Which on its own is already a major statement, seemingly confirming that we're going to be getting pretty close to that power level 1000 mark. As a lot of players out there definitely thought we were going to. But anyways, here's the mindset here. Pinnacle reward sites can award players power above 950. This is a way of reclaiming a little bit of the character power prestige that the initial D1 power climb created. If you inspect a player and see their gear is 960, you know they've done a bunch of Pinnacle activities. It's worth mentioning that as you raise your power via Pinnacle activities, other powerful reward sites will continue to drop powerful side grades. And this Guardians kind of marks a change in philosophy for the way power works in Destiny 2. As it is right now, you can basically play any content in the game. We've got PvP, we've got your weekly flashpoints, we've got the Dreaming City, we've got all the powerful bounties that you can do every single week to get you up to 750 light. And it's really kind of been this way since Destiny 2 initially came out, which is of course very different from the world we had in early Destiny 1, where the only way to get to max power was to run in-game content like Trials of Osiris, The Raid, or Iron Banner. And with this, it seems like Bungie's more so moving back to that old MMO style of system. It looks like you'll be able to get in-game adjacent. You'll be able to get up to around 950 power without doing that in-game content. But if you want to get beyond that cap, you're going to have to dive into some of these new Pinnacle reward sources that we'll be getting in Shadowkeep. And I personally think that's fantastic. I think that's exactly what this game kind of needed to do. While I like the fact that everybody can basically get to near in-game playing whatever content they want, there is definitely something to be said for the lack of incentive to run certain raids. It's not like you run Last Wish or the Crown of Sorrow to get your power level up. You get your power level up before you even get in there. And that's definitely something that I think has been missing from Destiny 1. Remember, as frustrating as Forever 29 was, you were running those raids. You were running that Vault of Glass in order to get to that maximum power level. And that's really kind of the way it is in a lot of other MMOs. I've spoken about it multiple times, but I think of games like Final Fantasy XIV, where you can basically play tons of different content, do all kinds of your daily stuff to get to in-game adjacent levels of power. But if you want to get that max level stuff, you gotta play some in-game content. You gotta play some of those Pinnacle sources. And I'm kind of glad to see that Bungie's moving back towards that direction. And with them adding in this new artifact system as an alternative way to progress power throughout a season, I think this is fantastic all across the board. And of course, as Luke mentioned there, as your light level's going up, your world drops are going to be at whatever your power level is. So no more disappointing drops that are going to be 20 to 30 light underneath what you are. Very happy to see that that's changing moving forward. But there we go, Guardians. That's pretty much it for all of the biggest bits of information that we got from this blog post. And I don't even know if I should really say that because there's so much. This is so chock full of great information that you really have to go and read the whole thing for yourself when you've got some free time. There is, of course, a link to it down in the description box below. But actually, there is one more thing to talk about. Luke revealed that there is going to be a part 3 to this director's cut. And this time around, it's going to focus on the action part of the MMO action game. This issue right here, part 2, focused a lot on the RPG aspect, the power grind. But next time, it's going to be focused a lot more on the action. Think combat and PvP with a bonus section to the evolving world coming to Destiny this fall. Cannot wait to learn more about that. It should be dropping sometime tomorrow. So of course, we'll be having a rundown of it right here on the channel. But alright, that's it for this one, Guardians. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. Have you read part 1 and part 2? What are you expecting from part 3? Be sure to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.